everyone! Welcome to this month's A Garden in Every Season tour. Early fall is already here at the station and things are only going to get even more colorful as the weeks progress. So I'm very excited to show you all what's been happening and again what to look forward to. Fall is here and there's only more to come, so I hope you all enjoy.
So I wanted to start out this month's tour by wishing you all a happy fall. Since these garden tours come out at the first of every month, last month's tour, it wasn't quite fall, but now it is, right? We had the autumnal equinox, September 21st. We also had the last full moon of the summer. And so now we're entering a period of equal light and dark, but sooner we'll continue to have cooler temperatures like we've been experiencing here in Highlands thus far, and much cooler evening temperatures as well as the season moves along. And one of the first plants that I wanted to highlight that I actually went into a bit of depth in May's A Garden in Every Season tour is our Jack in the Pulpit. So if you're interested to see the flowers, do go back and check that video out. But these are the bright red berries, which are very attractive to birds and other fruit-loving animal species. And it's very striking. You'll have to keep your eyes peeled, but there are lots of other berries and seeds popping up this time of year. Again, that's another reason why I love fall, is we've had all these beautiful flowers in spring and summer, and as we're transitioning to a new season, the plants are developing in different ways to prepare for winter. If you all are frequent viewers of the Garden in Every Season tour videos, then you may already be familiar with this plant. I did talk about it much more in depth in June's video, so please do check that out. But this is one that I really enjoy visiting throughout the season to see how it's progressed. And this was a video that I took of it earlier in the season, so you can see that things are still green and the berries are just beginning to form. But of course, now that we're in fall, we have those berries that have been developed, and the center of that whorled leaf is turning a beautiful red. Another plant that I frequently like to visit throughout the season is our yellow root, and those tiny purple flowers that appeared in early spring are now turning into seeds, and you can start to see some of the yellow that's appearing in the foliage as well. And the scientific name Xanthorrhiza is sort of hinting at something that I will be discussing later on in the video, talking about why and how we have such colorful fall foliage and what's going on in the plant. So I did just want to take a brief jaunt to the Bog Garden. If you all are interested to learn specifically more about some of our bog species that are in flower, I encourage you all to go back to last month's A Garden in Every Season tour. The month of September is a wonderful month for late flowering species. But I just wanted to come and check on things and give you all a nice view, as we do have some fall foliage starting to appear, as you can see. And we do over here on the left have our swamp rose producing some bright red fruits, which again, similar to the Jack in the Pulpit, are very attractive to birds. We do have a nice red maple, which I will touch on a little bit more in depth later on in the video, but that is also showing off right now. Our final destination is the Upper Lake Boardwalk on the other side of Lindenwood Lake, but as we're walking there, I thought that I would just kind of start off on, why these plants are producing fall color and what's going on within the plant. And it's one of really the reasons why I think plants are so amazing. They have such complex ways of responding to their environment, and they're so sensitive in the ways that they've built up these mechanisms. So again, like I mentioned earlier on in the video, we had the fall equinox, the daylight hours are getting shorter, and we've also got cooler temperatures moving in, so plants are all sensing that. I did want to pause here for a moment to just give you all another view of the lake and more of that fall foliage. And we do have 2 mallard ducks visiting us as well, which is such a treat. We have the male and the female. They are still here on Lindenwood Lake, so if you happen to be in the area, do keep your eyes out. You can also see in the corner they do like to still duck down in the water to feed, which I think is very sweet. Anyways, like I was saying, plants up until this point have been functioning normally, but now they're sensing this change, right? And their processes up until this point have been, photosynthesis has been going on as normal, right? The chlorophyll is used in photosynthesis to make food, to help the plants grow and develop and all that jazz. Oh, I did just notice here we have a nice little colony of mushrooms. As I've mentioned before, I am not a mycologist, but if any of you all watching would like to comment down below to give a mushroom ID, we certainly would love that. So as I was saying, we have the photosynthesis process, and that's all occurring normally during the summer. And again, since we have these cooler temperatures and this shorter amount of daylight, the phytoreceptors, right, which are these things within the plant cells that can sense light, they're sensing that there's less of it. So that is causing a reduction or even a full cessation of chlorophyll production. And again, with these environmental factors like cooler temperatures and less daylight, there are mechanisms within the cells that are triggering the production of these certain pigments. And so these pigments kind of act to fill the vacuum that was left by the chlorophyll depletion. And I wanted to note as well that there are lots of other things going on within plants as well, but for the purposes of this video and just highlighting fall color, there are 3 main pigments that I wanted to focus on. The first is anthocyanin, the second is keratin, and the third is xanthophyll, which I already alluded to with our yellow root. So one of the first trees that you can see those pigments on display is on our eastern red maple. This is a very ubiquitous tree, like I mentioned, and it is one of the first to show off its fall color. If you are looking around on the ground and wondering if you've got a red maple leaf, because the color variation depends again on light and water and lots of different factors, the leaf has a long red petiole and 3 to 5 lobes. Just across here on the opposite side, we have another much smaller tree that also is showing off its fall color. This is Amelanchier, our Downy Serviceberry. This is a wonderful multi-seasonal tree. It produces small, soft pink flowers in spring, and it also has very nice, delicious, edible berries in summer. And as you can see, the leaves of our Amelanchier are yellow, so that means that they have a higher concentration of the pigment xanthophyll versus the orangish leaves of our red maple that has a blending of both anthocyanin and xanthophyll, again to get that orangish color. And the leaf variation and the color and variation of the leaves really is influenced by sun exposure, moisture levels, and temperature, as I mentioned. I did want to pop down here just to highlight our Solidago. These have gone to seed, and these are a very attractive seed for our birds. And if you would like to learn more about our goldenrod species, I again encourage you to check out last month's A Garden in Every Season tour video. The next tree I wanted to highlight that has a very high concentration of anthocyanin pigments and is another one of the plants that displays their fall foliage very early on in the season is our Silky Dogwood. I did highlight this plant back in June, so these are the flowers as you can see, and this is just a close-up shot of them. Again, this was much earlier in the season, but as you can see now, those flowers have developed into fruits. They almost have like a pearlescent color, and these fruits are very, very attractive to birds as well. And again, the color of the dogwoods really tells you that there is a high concentration of anthocyanin pigments because they are red. So you can kind of associate anthocyanins with reddish pigments, and then the xanthophyll with yellowish pigments. The next shrub that I wanted to highlight is Viburnum casinoides. So northern wild raisin is in reference to those dried fruits in the background, which kind of look like raisins. They, similarly to the silky dogwood, are very, very attractive to our birds, and this particular species is most often found in bog areas, so it likes wet feet. It's a multi-stemmed shrub, and it also is prevalent in higher elevation areas as well. But this is another species that obviously, as you can see, is displaying more of its fall foliage. But we have a nice view of some of the brighter colors there in the background. And this is just a small white pine sapling. I wanted to show this to you all to highlight that even though pines are evergreen species, they still have a needle drop period, just like our deciduous trees, right? So those yellowish needles that you saw, those are the oldest needles, and so those drop around the same time as our deciduous trees, just to kind of make room for the new needle growth. The next plant that I wanted to highlight that is not a woody tree or shrub, but is still showing off right now in early fall, and it's a really wonderful herbaceous perennial, our New England Aster, Symphyotrichum. As you can see in these clips, it's a very attractive species for pollinators, and it starts out by having those yellow centers, and as the plants are pollinated and as they mature, they'll turn a kind of russet maroon color, which I think really complements the soft purple flowers and those petals. This is also a host plant for several caterpillars and is really just a wonderful, wonderful plant to have in your garden. It can go quite tall, so if that's an issue for you, you can always cut it back in late spring to kind of keep the height down a little bit. And another nice thing, if you'll get a chance to visit this plant up close, it has very fuzzy, hairy stems. Lastly, I wanted to highlight our yellow birch. So we're very lucky here at the Highlands Biological Station to have a forest type that already has lots of yellow birch present. And this is another tree that has a lot of those yellow xanthophyll pigments, obviously, as you can see, but the common name yellow birch is actually in reference to the kind of golden bark that's very flaky and very typical of trees in the Betulaceae family, and birches in general also have those distinctive buds. But this is just a very, very beautiful plant. Again, the fall foliage, especially the yellow leaves as they're hitting the light, are really gorgeous. And this is, again, because of our layout here. It's a ubiquitous tree, and it's been a real pleasure to see as we've come into fall.
Thank you all so much for watching this month's A Garden in Every Season tour. Please follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well to get updates as far as the foliage times, and hopefully you all can come to visit, but if not, I hope you all enjoyed getting to see some of the early fall foliage happening here at the station. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed.